The birth of magical technology civilization meets the revival of ancient gods. Is it the technological civilization that belongs to the common people that stands out? Or is it the re-rule of the gods over the common people? In the collision between new civilizations and ancient gods, a young man appears in a bewildered and unknown world, searching for his own answer between the new civilization and the old gods. I am the creator of civilization. Or the reviver of the old god. Chapter 1. Divine Machine and Old God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Achilleo Continent. December 9th in the year 5165 of the Australian calendar, December 1st in the year 3288 of the Wallerian calendar, the Western Sea Empire, the Shusha region, formerly known as the Shusha Kingdom. Vague consciousness awakens. Fragmented images flicker in consciousness, but nothing can be seen clearly. I can only feel the smoke of war, blood, slaughter, the roar of steel weapons, vague unwillingness, vague guidance, and some vague belief. Who am I? Bang! The sudden and violent explosion, as well as the powerful explosion of fire elements, suddenly awaken consciousness. The scene before him made him feel an unprecedented shock. A ground dragon-type monster with a height of at least 30 meters and a body length of at least 100 meters, not including its tail, bathed in flames with ice-blue scales and eerie keratin spikes covered in various key elements, fiercely charged out of the exploding fire element and spat out ice-blue breath towards the front. A massive humanoid figure, with a terrifying speed that was difficult to capture with the naked eye, dodged the icy blue breath and came close to the Earth Dragon. Holding a 10-meter sword with rich magic, he slashed towards the neck of the Earth Dragon warcraft. In shock, the Earth Dragon warcraft immediately stopped breathing and used its front claws covered in scales and pointed with keratin to block it. However, under the swing of the humanoid figure, the magic sword erupted with even more intense magical power, directly cutting off the front paw and striking the Earth Dragon's neck. In an instant, the cold dragon blood splashed, and the figure of the Earth Dragon flew high and upside down. The humanoid figure immediately lifted its left arm and unleashed an extremely terrifying fire element impact, directly hitting the neck of the Earth Dragon, which was cut off in half and almost beheaded. Just like the initial violent explosion, completely cover it. At this moment, when attacking with the left arm, there was a brief pause. He saw the rough appearance of this figure clearly. It's not a giant about 20 meters tall at all, not a humanoid monster. But rather a massive machine with a metallic texture, yet containing extremely terrifying magic. Mech. A strange vocabulary suddenly appeared from consciousness. Just as he was surprised, this tall mecha suddenly erupted in power. The powerful reaction force caused the ground to sink, and at the same time, it swung its sword towards the fallen Earth Dragon, unleashing an extremely rapid melee attack with a terrifying agility that did not match this heavy machinery. Every swing of the big sword feels like a powerful warrior who can flexibly use his own weapons. However, achieving this is a mecha that is about 21 meters high. It's hard to imagine what kind of powerful manufacturing materials are capable of withstanding such rapid maneuverability and explosive power, while also being able to handle such terrifying magical explosions. The fierce collision between the giant beast and the mech resulted in both sides moving faster and faster. Despite having a huge advantage in size, the Earth Dragon faced what should have been a bulky mecha, but on the contrary, it was the passive side. It cannot effectively hit the mecha, whether it is using sharp teeth and claws, or melee attacks with tail or joint spikes. Under the various agile maneuvers of close combat, the Earth Dragon is the bulky and massive flesh. In the eyes of ordinary people, the speed of the Earth Dragon is already so fast that it cannot be seen clearly, but it still cannot effectively attack and hit the mecha. Sound explosion. Even from their combat actions, the Earth Dragon is at a complete disadvantage. Even when paired with long-range breathing or unique magical burst attacks, it will immediately be blocked by the light gold magic protection on the mecha's body surface, making it impossible to easily damage the mecha's body. On the contrary, the large sword in the mecha's hand seemed to be specifically designed for the Earth Dragon. The sharp blade can easily cut through some of the magic of the Earth Dragon, and can also crush the dragon's tough scales and strong keratin spikes. The initially raised front paw was also severed during the initial attack, along with the hard bones of the front paw. The battle began to present unilateral suppression. The battle didn't last long. 1 minute. Or 2 minutes. Too intense to easily forget the time. But the result was, report to the 3rd Aerospace Carrier Battle Group, this is the Shinji Firebird. The target area's Warcraft-type revival Old God has been successfully slain, and there are no affiliated Warcraft or Dragon Clan Old Gods expected to come to support. Request to return with loot. While maintaining vigilance, the mecha uses wireless communication to call for airborne aircraft carrier battle groups located hundreds of kilometers away in the airspace. Magic detection and radar scanning continuously confirmed the surrounding conditions, and no abnormalities were found except for magical fluctuations such as small monsters around. Please confirm the coordinates. Coordinate confirmation. Subsequently, a door of space measuring about 70 meters high and 50 meters wide appeared on the left side of the mech. After confirming that there were no issues with the surroundings, the mecha held a large sword in one hand and unleashed a powerful force in the other hand, directly dragging the body of the Earth Dragon and throwing it into the door of space. Finally, it held the large sword and retreated in while maintaining a state of alert. Just as he was about to fully enter. Who is it? The mecha suddenly issued a warning in one direction, with the blade pointing straight in one direction. Did you find me? Wait, I'm now due to the intense and shocking battles, there was no time to pay attention to one's own situation. He only realized that he was now just a faint and elusive phantom, floating in mid-air. Also facing the direction of the sword edge. Even though he seemed to be elusive, the mecha seemed to be unable to see him even when it noticed an abnormal situation. Strange. The mechanic, operator, of the mecha did indeed detect abnormalities in the body's warning system, but after re-strengthening the scan, nothing was found. What's the situation? The Firebird. An inquiry has been sent from the Aerospace Carrier Battle Group, as they have not been able to pass through the space gate, which consumes a huge amount of magic. It's nothing, maybe some old god used remote observation magic on me, I'll go back now. After confirming that the Firebird Shinji was in good condition, it also retreated into the space gate. The vast door of space also quickly closed after it was completely submerged, feeling like it was saving every bit of magical energy. Or, to put it another way, accurately calculate the minimum value of magic consumption. Hundreds of kilometers away. Sea people, over the waters belonging to the Atlanta Western region. A massive aerial battleship with a wingspan length of nearly a kilometer, resembling an obtuse triangle in overall shape, suspended in the gloomy autumn sky. Surrounded by various models of fighter jets, some returning from afar emitted deafening sonic booms. On both sides of the main ship, there are 2 aerial battleships with a wingspan length of about 600 meters, which are the auxiliary ships of the battle group. There may be some differences in appearance, but the coordinated fighter group seems to be of the same model. On the hull of the ship, there are eye-catching red flags. A flag with a red background, silver war hammer and black sickle intersecting. And this. It is the flag of the Comic United Kingdom, which is the strongest country in the world today and possesses the strongest magical technology. Yen, 3rd Aerospace Carrier Battle Group. The main ship, the aerospace aircraft carrier, is the Jika Emperor. Inside the Jika Emperor, the door of the space is connected to the warehouse. Sleeping slot. What kind of purebred idiot are you, Firebird? There's only a little space in the docking compartment. You just teleport the old god's corpse in like this. As soon as the Firebird returned, it was scolded head-on and head-on. The hatch of the Shinji Firebird opened, and a young man in a damp combat suit floated out of it. He then exhaled happily and took off his helmet. A man with slightly curled brown hair and a handsome face. He is the jockey of the Shinji Firebird, who is a Fire Saint Demon Guide, 8th level, and also a Warrior King, 7th level, powerhouse. Summoning space storage, the divine machine immediately disappears. Did you really listen to me? A big man with a chest, back, and waist walked angrily. Beast tribe, bear tribe. Oh my, the interior space of your Jika Emperor is quite spacious. Don't you think you can move normally even with your big stature, said the Shinji Firebird jockey with a hearty laugh. There are ice attribute dragon blood everywhere, will you come and clean it up later? Ah! Bastard kid. The bear clan looked angry, as if they were about to eat it raw. I'll be back on the Bashan soon, I'm afraid I don't have time to help, said the Shinji Firebird rider helplessly. Are you so special? The Xiong tribe is about to get angry. Dee. The portable combat watch on the left wrist of the Shinji Firebird rider rang and was immediately opened. A magical light screen appears. Marshal Jekka. The originally somewhat cynical Shinji Firebird rider immediately stood at attention and saluted, lifting his left arm to keep the magic light screen at the same level as himself. Sorry for the sudden communication, I hope I didn't disturb your combat mission. Not at all, Marshal. Marshal Jekka nodded lightly in response. What appears on the screen is Marshal Jekka, currently the highest military commander of Kulian and known as the Empress. A beautiful face is coveted by many men, but it is also a manifestation of fear familiar to her generals and enemies. According to the latest news from the Witch clan, a high-level god of the Dragon clan may have revived in the Shuxia area of the Western Sea Empire. You should be a god-level combat member who has recently been carrying out combat missions in that area. Have you noticed any abnormalities? Marshal Jekka asked. Abnormal. The Shinji Firebird rider suddenly thought to himself, is what the security system detected when he finally returned abnormal. There was no abnormality in the battle process, only when the last person left, the security system seemed to have detected something, but after strengthening the detection, there was no response, and I immediately returned safely. The Shinji Firebird cavalry replied truthfully without any hesitation. Forget it, if you think of anything, report it immediately. According to the Witch clan's speculation, the soon-to-be-revived high-level dragon god is likely to be one of the 9 elemental dragons under the dragon god's command during the divine rule era. Even if the recovery does not immediately restore all strength, it is still a very strong threat. Marshal Jekka solemnly said, which put a lot of pressure on the Shinji Firebird rider. Aye, Marshal, said the Shinji Firebird rider. Marshal Jekka nodded slightly and communication was interrupted, causing the magic screen to disappear. Ha! Shinji Firebird cavalry master breathed a sigh of relief, I was scared to death, it was actually the Empress's personal communication. Done. The big bear tribe hiding next to the body of the earth dragon asked cautiously. I'll go. Why are you hiding so far? The Shinji Firebird rider was surprised. Nonsense, that's the Empress. At the beginning of this year, there was a foolish member of our Xiong tribe who colluded with the old god and rebelled. They were directly raised by her along with the old god, and the outcome was extremely tragic. The big Xiong tribe responded with palpitations. I didn't execute it, I'm not sure. The Shinji Firebird rider shrugged, looking unrelated to himself. Humph. The bear clan didn't want to talk to him and turned around and left. The Shinji Firebird rider watched his departing figure, but was thinking about Marshal Jekka's inquiry in his heart. The anomaly he noticed before returning was related to the old dragon gods. Or something else. Similar issues have also arisen in places where mecha and dungeon battles have occurred. A young man without a trace sat cross in the cold dragon blood, his face full of contemplation on the appearance of life. Who am I, where am I, and why did I suddenly have a body? And the dragon blood in this place is really cold. P.S. This book is the second sequel to Magic Mech Wars. No, steel floods. It does not affect the viewing of this book, but if you need a clearer understanding of issues such as worldview, world situation, and national racial relations in the early stages, you can watch the first part first. The first part is a story about the transformation towards a steel torrent and a new red alien political system, based on the technology of having a controllable, mechanical puppet, like a mecha. Chapter 2. Caught. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The young man sat in the cold dragon blood with ice attributes, pondering for a while before finally making a decision. Common sense knowledge is generally felt. So, first look for the surrounding villages and towns. As long as there is no problem with language communication, you should be able to continue to obtain a lot of useful information. But now the young man looked at his own body, and if he entered the village without a trace, he should be treated as a pervert, right? Blood magic, auxiliary magic. Blood clothes. When the boy thought of asking for clothes, memories of a kind of magic suddenly popped up in his mind. Subconsciously activated by magic, the ice-blue dragon blood underneath was quickly absorbed and summoned, then transformed into a set of clothes with a small amount of metal armor, resembling the attire of an adventurer, emitting an inexplicable coolness. Pure white hair color, light golden pupils, and handsome young facial features. He is about 1.75 to 1.8 meters tall, and although he may not be enough to charm countless young girls overall, he is indeed a handsome young man. Blood magic. The young man murmured softly, slightly puzzled as he reached out to look at his new clothes. In common sense memory, it should only be used by blood relatives, right? If you are not a blood clan, you are likely to draw your own blood uncontrollably. Can I use it? I am a blood race. It doesn't seem right either. I didn't use my own blood. Forget it, don't dwell on this. Apart from some common sense memories and inexplicable memories of magic and fighting spirit usage, I can't recall anything else in my mind. Continuing to think about those things will not lead to any results, except for the fear of plunging oneself into various unknowns and confusions. The boy looked around again. There are still some large amounts of dragon blood scattered in the battle just now, which were not taken care of by divine machines. Many have gradually infiltrated underground, but some have temporarily left a lot in bumpy areas, so they should still be able to be collected and used. Will there be magic for temporary storage in space? Space Series, Third Order Magic. Space Storage. Corresponding memories flash in the mind. A simple magic call, combined with the suction and pulling of magic through the air, allows many dragon blood within the spiritual perception to be stored in space. The temporary storage space needs to be constantly consumed with magic to maintain, and the magic consumption depends on the size and time of the temporary space. After storing about half a cubic meter of space, the boy stopped continuing. It's not that he's worried about the consumption of magic. In fact, he feels that absorbing several times more is not a problem. The main reason is that most of it has already infiltrated the land, and the dragon blood spilled from combat injuries is not very useful after being eroded and mixed by various combat magic and fighting spirit forces. Collect it and exchange it for some money. Subsequently. Spiritual perception, no perception of villages or towns nearby, but perception of a small path. After running over immediately, he found a direction and left. If he was lucky, he should be able to arrive at a village soon. After about 10 minutes of running, a small town with a stone and stone city wall about 10 meters high appeared at the end of the path. And he casually gathered a mask and placed it on his face, while also disguising the color of his hair as regular gold. Pure white is a bit obvious. Although I don't know who I am, it would be a bit funny if I were a wanted criminal and got caught in the small town. Hello. The boy tried to communicate in his own language, but he dressed well and looked at least like a middle-class uncle, but he was confused and didn't know what he was saying. After thinking for a moment, he condensed a regular fireball in his hand and lit himself with his hand. Signal yourself as a magician, as if inquiring about nearby magician guilds or where magic-related places are. People who can learn magic are mostly from good backgrounds, even nobles and the like. Therefore, it is more likely to understand other languages, and with good luck, one should be able to communicate normally. Uncles seem to understand, and then guards have been called in. Hey! The young man, with a bewildered face, was invited to the small black room. Did I just act very scary? Shouldn't you mistakenly think I was robbed? Outside the iron window of the small black room, several guards appeared very vigilant, mainly wary of the young wizard's identity. Along the way, there was indeed an attitude of invitation, without any violent escort, to the extent that the young man initially thought he was prepared to go see the mayor or something, and those characters may also speak other languages, so he did not resist. About half an hour. A man dressed in luxurious clothes and appearing somewhat chubby walked in and looked at the honest young man in the small black room. It looks like a local aristocrat. Similarly, I tried 2 different languages and then took out a book to read sentence by sentence. Quickly, after flipping through a few pages, he spoke the language familiar to the young man. "Where are you from?" the chubby man asked. The young man immediately scanned the book with his mental energy and sensed that the corresponding text was indeed recognized in memory. And now the note for this language is the secondary lingua franca of the Esha Empire, of Isu. The Empire of Elsa, adventurers. The boy used magic to outline the text in reverse and presented it to the chubby man. Looking at the text that matched the language notes and the boy's reaction, although he didn't recognize the word adventure behind it, it was still a confirmation of his basic identity. Blood God Territory. Esha Empire. Then the chubby man used the corresponding simple words to tell the boy to wait for a while before leaving. About 3 hours later, an old man dressed in military attire came over. "Are you an adventurer of the Elsa Empire?" the old man asked in a more standard language as soon as he arrived. "Yes," the boy nodded immediately. "Young people nowadays, who are not staying in their own country safely, have come to our continent of Asilio. Do they not know that the gods are reviving and dividing territories everywhere, which is very chaotic?" The old man looked educated. "There's a little unexpected situation," the boy said awkwardly. "All right, I don't care if you're a fugitive or anything else. This small place shouldn't be able to lock you up either. Being able to cooperate and wait for so long should also be asking some questions, right?" The old man was also very clear. He has practiced before, probably only with the strength of a beginner mage, first level, so he probably knows that the young man in front of him is very strong. The defense of the small town is definitely unstoppable. Having enough ability to be so quiet should not be a malicious guy. "Actually, I got lost." "Where is this now?" the boy asked. "Now. In the past, I could say it was called the Kingdom of Shuxia, but as early as 9 years ago, this place was completely conquered by the Western Sea Empire, and now it is divided into temporary territories under the jurisdiction of the Dragon God. However, in reality, those giant dragons don't care what we do, as long as we don't cause any damage. So the Western Sea Empire and the Dragon God's territory are both included. Similar to your Empire of Esha as a territory of the Blood God." The old man simply metaphorically said, somewhat with a hint of helplessness. The change in the leadership of the country is not something that the lower-class people like him can decide. "I want to find an adventurer guild, a wizard guild, or a nearby big city. Can you help me point the way?" the young man asked. "Okay, but before leaving, you still need to make a simple registration, even if it's fake information," the old man said, using Su Xia's language to ask the guards to bring the relevant documents. They are also accustomed to not expecting anything from adventurers and it comes to asking them to sign something. Adventurers are inherently wandering beings, many of whom have some blood debts, and only by being able to leave information normally can there be ghosts. They just follow the rules and handle things. "Here, write your name here. What do you do here? And here. Here. I simply pointed and didn't care how much the boy listened to, but they were all signed casually. For those who haven't signed yet, they still have to help make up for it themselves. Sometimes, it's not uncommon to just fill in a name and leave. The boy picked up his pen and hesitated slightly as he looked at the name column. Myself, what is it called? Even if it's just a fabrication now, we still have to have one in the future for convenience, right? The first thing I saw when I woke up was a brilliant explosion of flames. Then came the ice blue earth dragon and the fire red mecha. My hair is catching white again, and my memory is as white with nothing. That's called White Dragon. The old man looked at it and saw that it was clearly filled in casually or with names like adventurer titles, but he didn't pay any attention. I've seen more and got used to it. It's already good to call them Dragon Knights instead of hearing that they are now part of the Dragon God territory. Take this simple map well. Fortunately, the Empire of Elsa is a large empire, and there are quite a few printed versions of this simple map. You should be able to understand it, the old man said as he dug out a map. However, on the map, there is only the continent of Asilio, surrounded by sea and islands. We are here now, walking along the road about 15 degrees northwest, and in no time we will reach a large city with a population of 500,000, which was the former capital of our Shusha kingdom. The old man briefly pointed it out. Thank you. Young Bai Long expressed his gratitude. Alright, you can go now. Then it's about asking others not to wear masks. It's quite chaotic everywhere now, and masked wizards who don't know can easily lead to misunderstandings. If you really want to wear it, I only recommend masks and the like. Anyway, don't cover it too tightly. The old man finally reminded. Oh. So that's how I was invited in. It can also be considered a disadvantage of being too cautious. Leave the small town and head to the former capital of Sayaxi Kingdom, and then find a way to go to the Ursha Empire. Since you know the language over there and also know writing, there must be some connection. However, in common sense memory, Shenzhou continent actually knows. I have no impression of being on this continent of Asilio. Strange. Chapter 3. Selling Dragon Blood in Dragon God Territory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dragon God Territory. Satasamiza, the largest city in the Shusha region of the Western Sea Empire. Young Bai Long arrived outside the city and looked at the towering city wall, which was nearly 50 meters high, and could also feel the strength of this city, which used to be the capital of Shusha. But this city, it is said to be a place belonging to the Dragon God, but apart from the Dragon God image hanging on the city wall, there is no other place related to the dragon. Simply enter the city and find the Adventurer Guild. With the help of receptionists who speak the Ashadi Mandarin, a brand new adventurer title, also known as White Dragon, was successfully re-registered. Due to registration requirements, I went to the Mage Guild and Warrior Guild for a simple test of my strength. Magician Strength. Level 6, Great Magician. Warrior Strength. Level 5, Moon Warrior. In a chaotic world, the identity documents issued by the state often do not have the adventurer title determined by the Adventurer Guild. Especially for small countries, it refers to the uncertain day when a country will collapse and become a refugee-like presence after being displaced. On the other hand, they are adventurers wandering around, and it is not surprising to appear anywhere as adventurers. But now there's a small problem. Do we need to elevate the adventurer level to purple gold now in order to freely enter other countries under the pretext of adventure missions? Asked the young White Dragon as he looked at the adventurer manual specially given to him. That is a requirement set by the colleague. Other Imperial forces can basically enter and exit freely as long as they are normal adventurers, mainly to prevent some spies from using their adventurer identity to infiltrate the requirements set by the colleague at will. After all, upgrading to the purple gold level is not just a task that can be completed. The receptionist explained. The Shusha region, or the entire Assyrian continent dominated by the Western Sea Empire. The classification criteria for adventurers are generally based on 9 levels: iron, copper, silver, gold, purple gold, diamond, epic, legend, and mythology. Simply put, to freely enter and exit the country called Kulien, one needs to reach level 5. To reach the 5th level, multiple identity verifications are required to clarify the national identity before obtaining it. Furthermore, basic national titles such as Knight and Baron will also be obtained, which will be awarded by the kingdom as a symbol for further identity verification. Therefore, it is not something that can be obtained directly after completing some difficult tasks. Kulien. Is it a strong country? Asked the young Bai Long curiously. You don't even know this. The receptionist was very puzzled. Because any normal person, even a child from a remote mountain village, may have heard of the existence of Kulien. That is a country that can confront the gods. In the continent of Asilio, the strongest Western Empire could only compromise with the revived gods and turn its territories into the territories of those revived gods. I actually lack some exploratory knowledge due to my cultivation and long-term mountain and wilderness experiences, said the young Bai Long, citing reasons he had already prepared. The issue of cultivation, such as mountain and wilderness cultivation, is relatively vague. Well, I suggest you find a way to recover as soon as possible. Currently, the entire world seems to have its own contradictions due to the existence of the Kuleague and the gods' conflicts. A new round of world war may break out at any time, so it is still important to choose a good camp. You should be a member of the Elsa Empire, right? The Elsa Empire is not bad, the main territory of the blood god. The only problem is being right next to Kulien. Even though the previous leader had blood ties, their relationship is not very good now. The receptionist briefly explained, which also gave the young Bai Long a general understanding in his heart. Why did Kulien resist the gods? Bai Long suddenly asked. Who knows? Anyway, I don't feel anything bad about the rule of the dragon god right now. Everything is no different from usual, and I don't know if Kulien and his gang are mentally ill and living well. Why do they have to do such a huge sacrifice? The receptionist commented in confusion. Those guys. Bai Long was slightly puzzled. It seems that you really don't know. Kulien is a mixed country of multiple ethnic groups, including humans, beasts, dwarves, and goblins. It is rumored to be a country where every race is equal, but whether it is truly equal or not is unknown. Isn't it always like that? So what? Yes, the common class is equal, and as a result, the main race lives in rich areas, while the conquered race can only nominally live equally in remote and impoverished areas. The receptionist roughly guessed that this has always been a normal thing. On the surface, equality, but in reality, the division of 3, 6, 9, etc. has long been predetermined. The dominant race still holds the dominant position, as they are always the rulers of the higher echelons. Even if there is any distribution of benefits, prioritize one's own race, as long as others can survive without rebellion. Racial equality. White Dragon murmured softly. Suddenly. Nowadays, our power is almost equal, and the world is so vast. Why can't we consider living together equally and harmoniously? We have no reason to fight each other, it's not the relationship between wolves and sheep and grass. Why? The pale golden eyes suddenly emitted a faint halo, only feeling a sharp pain in the mind. That's whose memory? What's wrong with you? The receptionist noticed something unusual. No, it's nothing. Bai Long shook his head and instinctively changed the topic and asked, is there a guild nearby that purchases magic materials? I want to sell something and then prepare to spend money on a merchant ship or something to go to the Elsa Empire. Yes, there is. Do you need me to translate it together? Just give 2% of the transaction amount as compensation. The receptionist immediately smiled. As receptionists for adventurers, they need to deal with such things, and they will naturally follow suit. This is one of their channels of making money. Is it so cheap? For foreign visitors passing by, shouldn't it start at 10%? Bai Long was a little surprised and asked with a hint of humor. You are a great wizard, level 6, and if you don't have the money, you have the ability to go to other places. If you don't sell it, should I drink from the west and north? The receptionist also said helplessly. It's not easy to earn money. If you are a low-level adventurer, you can indeed consider killing it. The great wizard may even be able to fly, and they can sell wherever they want, still getting used to you. About 20 minutes later. A certain magic material merchant, with a frightened receptionist and appraiser expression, huddled in the furthest corner and looked at the white dragon. It's like seeing a ghost even more. Dragon, dragon. Dragon blood. You're actually planning to sell dragon god level dragon blood. This is the territory of the dragon god. The receptionist exclaimed in terror, and the appraiser was already too scared to speak. It's not a matter of whether they dare to accept this thing, it's just a matter of taking it out, and it's destined to be a life-threatening problem. Even if it's just earth dragon blood, it's almost the same. It's okay, isn't it? This is what I saw when I saw a super large mech hunting a god-level earth dragon. This kind of thing that was picked up after the war shouldn't be pursued too much, should it? Bai Long asked in confusion. The receptionist was also almost dizzy, saying, Mech Dungeon. That's just received the news that Kulian hunted down the old god. You are actually an experienced person. Are you really not crazy? The receptionist was also frightened. The appraiser on the side couldn't understand their communication in the language of the Elsa Empire, but judging by their expression and tone, they knew that things might not be simple. So that's Kulian's weapon. No wonder he dares to resist the gods. Bai Long also understood. At this moment, the receptionist's thoughts were also spinning, and he explained the situation to the appraiser next to him and discussed it. The things have been taken out and they have all seen them. Although the risk is indeed enormous, due to being a part of the territory of the dragon god, dragon blood, an excellent material for cultivation, magic potion, and alchemy, has already been sold for exorbitant prices in their black market. Legend has it that rarity is precious, and it is not without the possibility of being skilled. We are not quite sure about the battle between the gods and the Kulian divine machine, but according to rumors, the Kulian divine machine can easily detect the strong in the surrounding area. If it can be secretly retrieved, it should not have been discovered. Are you sure he came directly to you without looking for anyone else? Nonsense, I brought the registration of adventurers, magicians, and warriors' determination, and the news just came. He has a ghost's time to find someone else. Then. Bo-e show. The receptionist and appraiser quickly made a decision, and they were both old partners who quickly understood what to do. Cough. The receptionist sorted out their emotions and thoughts. Considering that your item is indeed dangerous, and it is of poor quality with a lot of impurities. The receptionist hasn't finished speaking yet. Just give me 1/3 of the normal price, you can take 1/10, Bai Long said immediately. Ah. The receptionist was taken aback. Little brother, are you the crown prince of any family? So generous. Reverse bargaining. Finally. White Dragon easily obtained a bag of gold coins with his strong bargaining power. The appraiser and receptionist were also satisfied with receiving good things and additional compensation directly, and the three of them ended the transaction very happily, then went their separate ways. After Bai Long, he hired a translator from the shipping association again and took him to the coastal commercial port city, preparing to take a boat to the Esha Empire. Although I woke up on the continent of Asilio, I always felt like I had to go to the Elsa Empire first. Perhaps it's because I seem to have blood magic, or because of language issues, I need to be in a familiar language environment to feel at ease, but in short, I quickly embarked on the journey without any delay. Blood God Territory, Esha Empire. Let's go. Chapter 4. The first arrival of the Esha Empire. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. On a merchant ship bound for the Empire of Esha. This is a relatively traditional wooden merchant ship, but it is equipped with a magic element power core that can be used by night mechs, so there is still no problem with its speed. Combined with the magic circle engraved on the special wooden hull, it can also resist sea beasts and storms, making it the most cost-effective configuration for ocean-going merchant ships. When the overall materials are cheap and the vessel volume is small, the cargo volume is larger compared to steel merchant ships. However, for larger merchant ships, the wooden structure is difficult to withstand pressure such as water pressure, and can only stack materials and increase the design structure. The carrying capacity is difficult to say compared to iron. The merchant ship that by long boarded was about 60 meters long and 18 meters wide. It can be considered one of the larger wooden merchant ships. What are you doing? At this moment, Bai Long was idle and bored. While strolling on the deck, he watched the sailors exchange something on the mast. The beacon manufactured by Kulian can be connected to their satellite system for positioning, but because it belongs to Kulian, it cannot be used freely in the territory of the gods, so it can only be used after leaving the port. The sailor who was loading said with a hint of pride. Hee, don't be fooled by the small size of this thing. The positioning and storm warning during critical moments have saved our lives. You kid, didn't you blame the captain for spending a lot of money on this thing back then? Pooh. God can't save me at all, this thing has to be reliable. Other casuals also immediately joked a few words. Have you seen this thing for the first time? The first mate of the merchant ship walked over and said. Bai Long nodded. It is also normal that the satellite systems of Kulian are mostly military, and with their regional magic array on land, the array system can achieve all-round monitoring of land and air. It is said that even gods cannot easily infiltrate Kulian. Can it be used for commercial purposes, or are we foreign ships using very few parts? Many steel merchant ships cannot afford this. With it in place, the warning of major storms on the sea can be greatly avoided due to the disorientation and interference caused by the chaos of sea elements, which can lead to entering the territory of sea animals. The first mate of the merchant ship also said simply. As long as someone asks, they will basically explain. Because the most important thing for commercial ships is safety and reliability in order to have a source of goods, and the expensive, maritime beacons, manufactured by Kulian are the best proof of their safety. Is it so powerful? It feels like a wizard at the level of a holy mage, 8th level, guiding and guarding on the ship. Bai Long was also somewhat surprised. How strong is the rumored Kulian in these magical technology countries? It seems that you haven't been to Kulian yet, so if you have the chance, you can definitely go and see it. It will definitely give you unexpected shock. When I save enough money, I also plan to take my family to Kulian. The first mate of the merchant ship laughed. Well, if there's a chance, go. Bai Long also made a decision from within. And I always feel that there seems to be a reason why Kulian must go. It's just better to go to the Elsa Empire for now. By the way, this beacon is very expensive. How much is it really? Even a large merchant ship may not necessarily buy it at a price. Bai Long asked curiously again. You may not have a clear idea of how much yuan you're talking about. Simply put, the price of buying 3 wooden merchant ships like ours in full may not be enough, estimated the first mate of the merchant ship. 3 ships. White Dragon was also surprised. I understand the sailor's complaint to some extent, and it is indeed outrageously expensive. According to conventional understanding, with so much money to buy this useless thing that they have no idea what it is, it's better to just switch to a steel merchant ship. Although faced with powerful sea beasts, steel hulls and wooden hulls will shatter after the magic protection provided by the magic core is exhausted, at least in other aspects of safety performance, they are still better than wooden windows. And just as White Dragon had already embarked on a journey. Komi United Kingdom. Tall buildings stand tall, surrounded by various magical formations, and various flying machinery constantly patrols the sky. There are also many weapons resembling airships suspended in the sky, maintaining the safety of the entire huge city. On some high-rise buildings, some exposed gun barrels can also be clearly seen, and the surging magic connected to them can roughly determine their terrifying power. Here is the capital of Korean. Baimu City. Whitewood City Administrative Center, Wolf's Nest Building. Report one of the highest authorities in the coalition, Prime Minister. Yashai Belda. Longevity mixed race, always maintaining an appearance of around 15 years old, actual age unknown. The light golden hair is smooth and straight, tied at the end of the buttocks, and there are also small braids on both sides behind the head. The skin tone is as fair and tender as a young one, with a slight rosy appearance. It has blue eyes, white teeth, soft eyebrows, and a raised nose. But such a fairy-looking girl holds the power of the strongest country in the world. Come in. After obtaining permission, the secretary of the Rabbit Beauty entered the office with some excitement. Report to the Prime Minister, it seems that the Witch Clan has detected the latest news of the resurrection of gods, and its fluctuations are related to mixed-race gods, said the secretary of the Rabbit Clan Beauty with a hint of excitement. Can you be sure it's him? Yasha immediately stood up and asked. I'm not very sure, because it's in the direction of the Ashilio continent, and it seems to be very close to the position of the Earth Dragon god we just hunted, said the secretary of the Rabbit Beauty quickly. So. Yasha Eaton was a bit disappointed. The era of mixed-race gods and divine rule is not without them, but their power is limited. Do we need to send a team to secretly confirm? Asked the secretary of the Rabbit Beauty. There are still idle trumps. No, is the Godslayer squad available? Yasha asked. I have checked and the 7th Godslaying squad has no missions in the near future. They can infiltrate for investigation. Okay, go report to the military's Jika, Empress, and mobilize the 7th Godslaying squad. If you don't find any useful clues, you can also carry out the Resurrection Dragon God hunting mission to the Dragon God's territory. Yes, I'll arrange it now. If the Dragon Gods knew about this arrangement, they would definitely be very angry. What's your business with finding someone to deal with me? What is the situation on Kulien's side? By long is not clear. At this moment, he has just left the continent of Asilio. And soon, after more than 10 days of long drifting. During this period, Bai Long anchored in some island countries, which further made him feel the changes in the world today, which are different from the changes in common-sense memory. The increase in the number of steel ships proves that the world's steel production and related production capacity have begun to increase. If we use vocabulary that can also be recalled in our minds, it is the enhancement of industrial capability. Based on casual conversations with fellow crew members and fellow guests, we have also gained a deeper understanding. The overall increase in production capacity began more than 30 years ago. It is now 3,288 years after the establishment of the Kingdom of Esha, which was 3,252 years in the Wallerian calendar at the beginning of its establishment. However, at that time, the improvement mainly relied on the accumulation and reuse of magic element power cores that had been manufactured and reused since 400 years ago. After repairing the old and outdated ones, they continued to provide magic power to mines and factories to increase production capacity, and developed related auxiliary operation machinery equipped with magic cores to improve efficiency. What can truly achieve a substantial leap is the magic pump station technology, which represents the most efficient conversion and utilization of magical energy. Hydraulic magic pump station, wind magic pump station, thermal magic pump station. Many models of magic pumping stations have been built and put into use on a large scale by the Kirin and Elsa empires, and the related magic transportation network allows all factories in the country to obtain a continuous stream of magic. Especially in terms of planning and construction capabilities of the magic pump station, there is a huge gap between Kulien and the Esha Empire. At the beginning of mass investment, it is said that in terms of substantial, magic pumping volume, Kulien was already 3 times that of the Elsa Empire. According to the specialized term industrial production capacity proposed by Kulien. More than 20 years ago, Kulien, with a relatively complete infrastructure and efficient utilization of magic, had a total industrial production capacity of about 70% of the world at that time. Nowadays, despite possessing highly advanced magical technology, Kulien still possesses such abilities. It seems like there's a chance, I really need to go to Kulien. Bai Long looked at the upcoming commercial port and made a decision in his heart. The Empire of Esha, the Liri region, formerly the Liri Kingdom. Commercial port, Kodalt. Unlike the Assyrian region of the continent of Assyria, it is mostly a group of buildings built with ordinary rocks and wooden houses. The transportation and acquisition in the commercial port are mostly done by manpower, and there are no large-scale equipment to assist. This commercial port has elevated structures, large loading machinery, and even highly flexible industrial machinery to assist in the transportation of goods. The buildings near the commercial port are all made up of rocks, with the highest reaching nearly 100 meters. At least it appears to be rock on the surface, but even without the need for spiritual perception, it is known that ordinary rock stacking is difficult to reach that high level of load-bearing capacity. And this. It is still just a remote commercial port in the Liri region, second only to the Elsa Empire in terms of magical technology. Enter the commercial port. Then Bai Long encountered a new problem. Should I first find a temporary job to understand the current situation, or should I go to a college to study? Bai Long hesitated. Shouldn't you really be an adventurer, wandering around like a homeless person? For adventurers, it is estimated that strong adventurers will have the opportunity to interact with high-level executives and gradually find the truth about who I am. In terms of work, the only ones who can come into contact with important people are probably those related to military affairs, or top-tier chambers of commerce. Otherwise, only colleges are relatively fast, especially those with extensive connections like college deans. The White Dragon was entangled. It's not that I came over without a clear plan, but rather because I didn't understand the situation of the Ursha Empire before and thought about coming over to understand the basic situation before considering it. At least the language here is fluent, and the Elsa Empire is also very powerful, which can be considered a good choice. Chapter 5. Imiha, a mixed-race youth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The adventurer's route is too slow, there are not many dangerous monsters to hunt on the continent, and the ones in the ocean are not easy to deal with. The military's identity verification is too strict, and the top chambers of commerce are unfamiliar with people's places. It is uncertain which chamber of commerce is suitable and convenient to touch. It seems that only colleges are more suitable. The review criteria are relatively low, and gifted orphans are accepted. But now, with the appearance of a teenager around 15 years old and the strength of a great wizard, it is not suitable to be a teacher or a student. Lost direction. Bai Long muttered to himself. He had to admit that he couldn't find a suitable choice now, and the key was that he had no clue at all. There is no particularly strong obsession or critical information. There is nothing. Don't run, kid. Stop. The sudden sound shattered Bai Long's thoughts, and when he turned his head, he saw a mixed-race boy with wolf or dog ears, chased by guards holding firearms. If it weren't for the high pedestrian flow in the commercial port and the fear of accidental injury or causing riots, a warning shot should have been fired. Why did you catch me if I didn't steal or grab? The mixed-race boy shouted as he ran. What a special thing. Spread the ideas of Kulien everywhere, I've been enduring you for a long time. The guards chased after me. I am Kulienren, why can't I say it? The mixed-race boy continued to run. Quickly arrived in front of White Dragon. And if you run further, you will leave the commercial port area and the pedestrian flow will quickly decrease. It can be seen that among the chasing guards, one of them has opened the safety and loaded, ready to take aim. That posture is obviously not a warning shot, at least it should be aimed at the direction of the mixed-race boy, attacking the ground next to him or something as a warning. White Dragon's thoughts quickly flashed through his heart. Kulienren, since he didn't steal or rob, he should be able to save him and learn some things. So quietly, a faint magical wave accurately grabbed the trigger of the firearm, making it impossible for the guard to pull it after aiming. The guard was immediately puzzled. Stop. Stop and shoot again. Another guard was still shouting. But he didn't see his companion's warning for the test shot for a long time, and saw that Kulien's mixed-race youth was about to run away. What are you doing? We're all running away, the guard turned and asked. The trigger is stuck. The armed guard was also a bit anxious. But when they turned their heads again, the young man with mixed animal race had already run far with good physical fitness. Ah! I didn't catch up again, just shoot a warning next time. The guards suddenly felt a little annoyed. Most of them are in crowded places, how could they shoot directly? If something happens, we will be more guilty. The armed guards were also helpless. Forget it, go back and continue patrolling. Anyway, it's not a criminal who kills or sets fire, just run away. Half a minute later. The mixed-race boy stopped at a corner and looked back with a slight doubt. He said he was preparing to shoot, but there was no movement at all, and the person did not continue to chase. Strange, when have those Imperial lackeys been so talkative? Just when the mixed-race boy was puzzled. Suddenly. Are you from Kulienren? Bai Long's voice rang out and appeared behind the mixed-race boy. Oh my! The mixed-race boy was suddenly startled. The passing magicians have just helped you control the launch components of their weapons, Bai Long said directly. Ah! Oh! Oh! The mixed-race boy paused for a moment, then pondered, and then suddenly realized. Is there anything you want me to help with? It's easy to say. The mixed-race boy quickly changed his attitude and said. First of all, I need to confirm some things. Are you familiar with the Esha Empire or this city? Asked Bai Long. Very familiar, I come from here. Whether I'm familiar or not, every street here has the urine I've peed on, and there's nothing I don't know, said the mixed-race boy with a hint of pride. But you said you're from Kulienren. Bai Long was puzzled. Oh, that's because my dad was a slave who was previously sold to the kingdom of Lily, or was he caught during the chaotic period when the kingdom of Kirian or Komi was just established? About 15 years ago, due to the rule of the Esha Empire here, they briefly recognized the powerful Kirian Empire as their suzerain and ordered the liberation of many slaves. It was only then that my father had the opportunity to marry a woman who was also a slave. Unfortunately, due to poor physical fitness, my mother fell seriously ill and passed away after I left. And my mother, who was also a slave who was brought in by the trade, although she was not a country under the rule of the Kulig before, she is now under the rule of the Kulig, so I am a member of the Kulig. The mixed-race boy briefly recounted his background. The child of slaves, the half-blooded beast of the unpopular Elsa Empire of the human race. It is not surprising to aspire to and promote Kulien in this place, which can be considered as Kulien's identity. Don't you have the ability to go to Kulien yourself? Bai Long asked again. With my mixed-race identity, I occasionally get the opportunity to work part-time and earn money. It's good to be able to survive and eat. Where can I afford to go to Kulien? Besides, I don't speak Kulien language, and I don't know if the people there will accept the people who grew up in my empire after going to Kulien. Mainly, after my mother's death, my father had to raise me with a difficult slave beast identity. When I grew up a bit, he fell down again due to various problems accumulated during his slave years, and I had to try to take care of him in the opposite direction. Last year, he unfortunately passed away and went to see my mother. The mixed-race boy seemed to be quite open-minded, with only a hint of helplessness. Time, money, and various issues have kept him in the Elsa Empire. I have a basic understanding, and I am planning to hire you to accompany me to the capital city of Wochkam and the Avisu region. After the matter is completed, I will give you 20 Su West Asian gold coins. Bai Long quickly made a decision. He really needs a guide. It doesn't matter whether he is excellent or not, mainly because he tends to go to the college to see. It should be more appropriate for a magician to bring a magical apprentice to the academy to seek a stable position, right? By then, as long as you have contact with the senior management of the college, you should be able to obtain more useful information. Ah. Aren't you from Esha? The mixed-race boy was puzzled. Not being directly tempted by the reward, asking questions directly is obviously also quite cautious. Traveling outside, there are too many changes and various unfamiliarity, Bai Long explained casually. Oh, what Shuxia gold coins are they? What is the weight? They won't be thin like gold or gold-plated, right? The mixed-race boy asked cautiously. It should be similar to the Empire, like this. Bai Long casually took out one and handed it to the mixed-race boy. After taking it, he skillfully took a bite and weighed it, feeling quite similar. All right. I think even the magician doesn't disdain to deceive me, a poor kid like me. My name is Imiha Nibukyang, and you don't mind calling me Imiha. What's your name? The mixed-race boy introduced himself and skillfully put the gold coin in his pocket. Bai Long, there's no need to use respectful words so politely. Bai Long smiled and reached out his hand. Imiha, a mixed-race boy, looked at the outstretched hand and was slightly surprised. Even if entrusted to him, the esteemed magician should not disdain shaking hands with a purebred commoner like him, right? However, looking at the outstretched hand, he still chose to grip it. Happy cooperation. Bai Long. Yimiha nodded. Imiha Nebushan. 13 years old, of mixed human and wolf race, his father is already of mixed human and wolf race, so he has more bloodline in other races. The appearance of the beast race is basically only wolf ears and wolf tails. This is also the first person White Dragon met in the Elsa Empire. 2 days later. In the southern Fincan region of the Esha Empire, the magical disaster of autumn floods, the unfortunate core area. La 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 la. Hoo hoo. Rainstorm and gale. A large number of branches, leaves, and unknown things were flying in chaos in the air. A large amount of water flows converge on the ground, forming floods that sweep everything along the way. The original alchemy sand and gravel road surface was also flooded, and the car they were riding on had already been abandoned. Passengers were searching for high places to avoid. Sleeping trough. Lord White Dragon, can you use this magical protection? Water is about to flood. Imiha anxiously shouted while holding a tree. Magic disaster. It is equivalent to sudden disasters such as earthquakes, typhoons, and tornadoes. It is formed by various chaotic magical elements condensed to a certain extent in a certain area. Therefore, it is possible to appear in any region, as long as the degree of cohesion is sufficient, it may explode. The most common magical disaster is the formation of the most common earthquakes, storms, wildfires, and so on. And generally, this ordinary magical disaster can only be classified into 6 levels at the highest in this world. Beyond the 6th level, even mages and warriors may not be able to easily deal with it, and may even breed some natural monsters in disasters. Wait, there's just no magic disaster beyond the 6th level, only a small number of warcraft will breed, just take a moment to pass. White Dragon was relatively calm. Can't we fly away? Lord White Dragon, can you fly? Yimiha asked. I have no problem alone, but I still have you with me. Now there are chaotic magic elements everywhere, rainstorm and gale. I don't know if I will be in danger. You may be very dangerous. Bai Long said seriously. Let's just forget about it, it'll pass pretty soon, Imiha immediately admitted. I suddenly felt that the tree I was holding was also quite sturdy. Help! In the flood, there are people who fall into the water. After Bai Long discovered it, he directly used magic control to rescue it to the nearby shore, leaving the rest unattended. However, the more you save, the more you realize that there are not many people falling into the water, and the rain is still very heavy. Is there no strong person like a college nearby to rescue? Bai Long was also puzzled. The magical disaster of floods and waterlogging is already a relatively slow outbreak, and there should be sufficient response time. When the momentum of heavy rain and strong winds is not right, it belongs to the stage where preparation can be made. Everyone has gone to prioritize the protection of factories and the property of those honored nobles. Who would prioritize protecting us? Imiha quickly said. People around also holding trees nodded in agreement. Bai Long also quickly understood. However, what does honorary nobility mean? Specially add an honor. Is there anything special? Chapter 6. Post-disaster. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fortunately, this flood disaster was not particularly severe. Thanks to the timely stabilization of the river embankment by the Earth-type magicians in the college, the subsequent flood momentum was reduced sharply, and then ordinary disaster relief work began. The industrial capability and magical technology of the Elsa Empire were second only to the Allied forces, so various Air Force and Army deliveries and arrivals after the disaster were very fast. Search and rescue, and material delivery after the disaster were relatively timely. Just, tisk, indeed, it's better to prioritize the city and provide sufficient protection for those prestigious factories before going to the small village to save people, said Imiha discontentedly. Looking at the small town passing by, I couldn't help feeling a little angry in my heart. They have already passed through the nearest small city, where the military support is extremely fast. What about the nearby small town? Although the distance is less than 5 kilometers, it is still only the residents of the small town who can save themselves, and the shadow of the Imperial army has not been seen at all. Anyway, when passing by small cities, many armies are busy working in the factories of honor nobles, fearing that they might miss something. Priority should be given to ensuring safety and stability in areas with more residents, Bai Long casually explained. I hope so, Imiha responded casually. White Dragon's spiritual power swept through and noticed several residents with severe injuries. He also casually used ordinary water treatment magic to help stabilize their injuries. His actions also caught the attention of the residents. Due to the fact that Bai Long had undergone a simple disguise, he now has ordinary blonde hair and, following advice, did not wear any suspicious masks. Instead, he casually bought a pair of magic prop glasses with spiritual assistance ability, which looked somewhat luxurious. Looking at the mixed-race Imiha next to them, it was difficult for these residents to determine their identity for a while. But the one who helps is to help, so naturally they won't treat each other coldly. Thank you for the help of this wizard, said a person who appeared to have some status. It's a piece of cake. Speaking of which, there are about 300 meters over there and about 350 meters over there. There are 2 unconscious people who should still have time to save them now. Bai Long pointed to the one he had just scanned with his spiritual power. Thank you. You guys, go and take a look in the direction that the magician said, the person quickly said. Simply continue to help and gain a general understanding of some things. The Empire of Ursa was established for less than 50 years, and its founder was also the current emperor. Suman Ursa. Its predecessor was a prince of the Avisu kingdom, belonging to the Suman royal family, and it was also a relatively special pre-surname. Later, he accumulated a large amount of wealth under the magic train, railway transportation, invented and built on a large scale in his family, and promised to almost completely hand over the transportation rights to the royal management in 10 years, temporarily stabilizing the initial act of soliciting chambers of commerce to accumulate wealth. Later, Through the use of financial institutions, insurance companies, and exchanges, initial funds were accumulated from various nobles and chambers of commerce for rapid development. In the end, with the tanks, planes and other weapons invented and built on a large scale by their family, they directly used the magic car route to transfer to the southern part of the Evisu kingdom. In just 2 days, they broke through the defense line of the kingdom of Lanwu at that time and successfully captured its royal capital. After occupation. Based on the food accumulated during the reign of Prince Evisu, while distributing land to a large number of Lanwu people, we also return them with food, stabilize people's hearts and liberate some labor force. And a large amount of money from the royal aristocracy of the Lanwu kingdom was used for the infrastructure construction of the entire country, road transportation, expansion of various factories, as well as the development of updated weapons and equipment. It sounds like treating the people well, but now. Bai Long looked around. It's been so long, but the disaster relief army still hasn't arrived. It has changed a long time ago, and in the end, it's just better than the previous military unification country, the rescued person sighed. Military unification country. Bai Long remembered that while chatting on a merchant ship, he had heard that in the past, there were some countries ruled by military power on the continent of Xingzhou, which were called military unified states. The Finkan region of the Esha Empire was formerly known as the relatively strong Finkan military state. At first, there were no nobles in the Duchy of Esha, only the people of Peter's holy territory who accompanied the Emperor Esha in his struggle, which was the people of his territory back then. Later, due to a miscalculation of the war situation of our military king, we were destroyed by the cooperation of the Duchy of Elsa with the then Empire of Kenya. It was also at that time that Emperor Elsa, as a duchy, requested the help of the Evisu kingdom at that time. In fact, the Evisu kingdom has long been under his control, just for the reason of launching a coordinated war. An old man walked over and sat next to the injured person. Many people don't understand, but I used to be a senior member of the militia in the military unification state, so I have a rough idea. Afterwards, Emperor Esha bestowed the title of honorary noble upon the Evisu nobles who helped the Duchy of Esha. They had no fiefdoms, no real power, and seemed to have nothing. But in reality, the establishment of various chambers of commerce and the distribution of various benefits are given priority to them. Since then, through self-defense and counterattack, active aggression, and the integration of the Duchy and kingdom, the current prototype of the empire was created, gradually breaking away from the initial policy of treating the people under the system of honor and nobility. It's just that at that time, we didn't even realize it. The old man reminisced and also sighed. The rest, Bai Long has also roughly heard of it. At that time, the Duchy of Esha. We will provide free land for every citizen to grow the food they want without paying taxes or anything. If we don't cultivate the land and let the duchy cultivate it uniformly, we can still receive a basic subsidy equivalent to 3 breads per day, ensuring that we can survive normally. At that time, there were also free schools and very affordable magic medicine clinics, hospitals, for medical treatment. By working a little hard for a year or two, they can fully afford to buy a house they are involved in building themselves, and there may also be wealthy options for decoration and furniture. After the kingdom's automobile production capacity increases, one can also quickly own a car. But now, that is to say, in the current empire of Elsa, although the honorary nobility did not have real power and fiefdoms, they almost monopolized the wealth of various industries, and ordinary people could only work in basic jobs. Only some magicians and warriors with cultivation talents, or top-notch individuals in certain aspects, can charge forward. I can roughly understand the current situation of the small town. Bai Long understood a lot when he saw the elderly and children, as well as the young people who had rushed back from the direction of the small town. The Empire of Elsa. Ultimately, it is just a country that has emerged through the support of its people in the process of development and growth. Subsequently, in the wave of the new era, while preserving the old system, a unique imperial system was formed through transformation. The superstructure remains the same. In name, they have no fiefdoms or real power, but their descendants still hold a superior position from their backgrounds. Class has long been solidified. There is not much difference from the feudal era. My child works in a nearby city, and his income is basically enough to cover all the expenses of the family. Last year, my husband fell seriously ill and ran away with all his savings. He couldn't afford to hire a pastor or buy expensive potions. The old man also sighed. Ah. I heard the salary is quite high, isn't it? Imiha asked in confusion. As a mixed race, he can only do odd jobs, and those stable and high-paying jobs are truly enviable. It's indeed high, if we don't include various taxes, deductions, fines, and so on, said the young man who rushed back from the side with some numbness. Imiha. Let me put it this way, the mandatory basic salary of the Esha Empire was 2,000 copper coins, which is the standard 20 silver coins or 2 gold coins. My job is to pay 3,500 copper coins per month, including various taxes and penalties such as late arrival fines, non-compliance fines, work chat fines, etc. In fact, I am lucky to receive 1,500 copper coins. Of course, being able to deliver on time the next month would be even more fortunate. The young man gave a final mocking smile, not knowing what he was laughing at. The purchasing power of the Esha Empire's gold coins is about 10 coins per adult cow, right? White Dragon roughly recalled what he learned. What is the value of a cow? You can imagine the value of their salary. Anyway, we have no hope for those who don't give up, and now we also have some protection from the blood god. Let's live with peace of mind. Of course, the premise is that they won't want to eat us or suck our blood, haha. The young man finally smiled again, not knowing what he was laughing at. At this moment, Bai Long's spiritual power sensed that some military vehicles were approaching, which were the delayed rescue troops. He also stood up and prepared to leave. Imiha watched his actions and quickly understood, and was ready to leave together. Finally, looking towards the small town after the disaster, various thoughts flashed through my heart. If it were Kolien, it would definitely not be like this. Imiha said with firm conviction. Let's go, I'll definitely go and see if there's a chance, said Bai Long. Imiha nodded. The two teenagers also left this small town. The residents who had been treated by Bai Long also spoke words of gratitude and then watched them leave. Then came their Imperial army. Let's go. The young man still felt a bit reluctant as he watched Bai Long leave. Nowadays, in the Elsa Empire, there are very few noble wizards who will come to help them. I'm gone, everyone's gone, just like His Highness Lindrel back then, the old man sighed and recalled. Will His Highness Lionel really come back one day? Will he really help us like this little wizard? The young man couldn't help but ask. Who knows? But besides him, who else can we hope for? The old man said helplessly. The young man didn't speak anymore, but silently followed the instructions of the Imperial army and went to help deal with the post-disaster situation. Chapter 7. Magic Pump Station. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The Elsa Empire, the Lanwu region. This is the most prosperous region of the entire Esha Empire. The predecessor of the Kingdom of Lanwu was the first country captured by Prince Esha's territorial army, and it was also the first region to build various infrastructure and industrial foundations. In addition, it has the advantage of being close to the sea and a relatively good geographical environment, so all kinds of development are extremely excellent. If you go further northeast, you will reach the capital city of Wochkam, Imiha said as he looked at the map. He didn't quite understand that Bai Long must have been wealthy, but since experiencing floods, he didn't plan to take either the car or the magic train or the plane. Instead, he bought a traditional carriage for a leisurely journey. The reason is actually quite simple. Bai Long didn't know where his goal was, so he hoped to travel a long way and see if the environment he passed by had familiar memories. Lucky, maybe we can find the direction. And big cities and so on. He has also heard of, for example, the capital of the Esha Empire, Wochkam, which was a small town ravaged by war decades ago, with only ruins and broken walls. But now, with towering buildings and bustling traffic, it's no longer what it used to be. Can you really recall anything? Roar. The sudden roar of the warcraft startled Imiha and also startled the horse pulling the cart. It's a third-order tiger-like warcraft, but the warcraft's target is not them, but the elderly man in another donkey cart not far away. Just as the warcraft was about to attack, it was killed by a mental spell casually performed by the white dragon, and the complete body was taken over by magic from afar. After entering the city, this was money. Why are there warcraft in this place too? Imiha was a bit puzzled. The old man had just recovered from the shock and repeatedly thanked the white dragon and his carriage, but obviously he was worried that he was a person of high authority and dared not rush forward to express anything more. It's not that there's always something, it's just that these alchemy sand and stone, concrete, roads were built into their territory. The construction team is mostly accompanied by earth-type magicians, who are used to assist in opening up roads. Subsequent cars will be equipped with micro-magic cores to some extent, which can withstand 1 or 2 impacts without any problem. However, when the speed increases, it will not be able to catch up. So if it weren't for this young man being a great wizard, level 6, I wouldn't have taken on this job either. The coachman replied simply. Will the powerful gods and ordinary people erode the territory of warcraft? White Dragon seemed to have a feeling of something in his mind. A feeling of inexplicable, distant memory. Ah! The old man still carries things like this, how dangerous it is. Imiha was also a bit worried. For the sake of life, the coachman replied calmly, I hadn't stopped talking. At this very moment. There is a strong magical fluctuation over there. Is it a large military facility? Bai Long suddenly sensed something. Over there. Oh, it's a hydraulic magic pump station, which mainly supplies magic to nearby cities and factories. It's also something that Warcraft hates because it keeps the surrounding elements in a thin state. The coachman seemed to understand a lot. Speaking of which, I have always been puzzled. The magic pump station continues to pump magic, won't it empty the magic? Imiha asked in confusion. The little one hasn't attended school, has he? For example, here hydraulic-driven machinery extracts free magical elements from the surrounding area through devices to burst out magic, which is then transported to other places for consumption and release. The end may also drive machinery, such as the operation of factory machine tools. The whole is still conserved, and free elements will continue to flow to thin areas like air as a supplement. The coachman explained simply. Oh. Imiha nodded with a vague understanding. Can you go around and take a look? Asked Bai Long. There shouldn't be any problem. This is a civilian magic pump station, and the technology has basically been made public. However, whether it can be built smoothly depends on the overall technical strength of the country, said the coachman. There was a small path right ahead, and as I was driving the carriage, I turned inside. There are also some slogans along the way that indicate entering the magic pump station area, which is a dangerous area for ordinary people. As a place where a large amount of magic is pumped, the surrounding environment of the magic pump station does indeed exhibit a certain amount of element thinness. However, the closer it is to the magic pump station itself, the thinner elements will gradually become more chaotic magic. Being in that environment for a long time is basically bad for ordinary people. Even magicians would not like this kind of environment. Only when various protective devices are complete inside the magic pump station can there be a stable working environment. More than 10 minutes later. Wow, this is the legendary magic pump station. How do you feel like it's just an ordinary dam? Imiha asked. A dam built on a small river intercepts a large amount of water. On top of the dam, there are various buildings they don't know, as well as many machinery that they don't know what their purpose is. Does not intercept the water flow to create a high and low drop to efficiently drive the machinery, waiting for a water will like old man to turn around, said the coachman. Ah! Why not build it under the waterfall? Imiha asked curiously again. Due to instability, there may even be no water in winter and washed away in summer, said the coachman. Okay. Imiha suddenly felt that the question he asked was so silly. Uncle, were you a soldier before? Bai Long had already noticed. He can be considered a centurion of the Imperial army, but he didn't like the style of the Empire, so he voluntarily retired. Especially 15 years ago, with the integration of His Highness Lindril into the Corinthians, the entire Imperial army was completely serving the royal aristocracy. The coachman responded indifferently. I have heard of your Highness Lindril. He was a former secondary crown prince of the empire, right? He was the only son of Prince Pali before, said Imiha with excitement. Because among the various stories his father had told him, His Royal Highness Lindril was second only to the pioneer, Colin. That's right. Many honorary nobles say that His Highness Lindril is a traitor to the empire, but in the eyes of us, the current empire is the evil party that betrayed our original intention and forced His Highness away. Including His Majesty the Emperor. The carriage driver said without hesitation. Can this kind of thing be said directly? Bai Long was slightly surprised. Oh, there shouldn't be many commoners from different eras who would secretly curse the king, would they? The coachman sneered. Imiha nodded in agreement. Anyway, as a lower-class citizen who grew up in the environment of the Elsa Empire, he doesn't feel any good about the empire. Is this young man still watching? I'm not very comfortable staying here, the coachman asked. The closer to the magic pump station, as the source of magic pumping and transportation, there will also be more chaotic magic that makes ordinary people uncomfortable. Well, let's go. There is a strong defense and detection magic formation built here, and I can't use my spiritual power to perceive anything. Just take a look, Bai Long nodded. Uncomfortable. What's uncomfortable? Imiha was puzzled. The coachman looked at Imiha with a slight surprise, making him even more puzzled. Because you have a talent for practicing magic, it's just that you don't know, explained Bai Long. Ah. Me. Magic talent. Imiha was a bit confused. Otherwise, do you really think I would randomly choose you to accompany me? Bai Long also chuckled lightly. Ah. Imiha felt completely stunned. Bai Long can guess what the situation is. As a liberated slave child, he still had a mixed race of the beast race, and it was obvious that the various policies of the empire towards the people did not fall on him. For example, helping children test their magic and fighting spirit talents for free, he has never had the opportunity to do so. However, at the first sight of him, Bai Long had already vaguely sensed with his spiritual power that Imiha might be someone with a talent for magic and fighting spirit. After close contact, he became even more convinced. I have tried using relevant testing magic in secret, and I can probably confirm that it is not bad. After that, I only need to go to the academy or other places, where there are specialized testing magic arrays and props, and I can basically determine the strength of my talent. Otherwise, without any magical talent, how could it be considered as a candidate for a magical apprentice in the White Dragon plan? It's not too late to learn magic at the age of 12 or 13, the coachman nodded lightly, indicating that he had seriously considered it. At this moment, Imiha suddenly regained consciousness. Lord White Dragon, can I really become a wizard like you? Imiha asked seriously, with a hint of pleading. There's nothing I can't do. The magic talent that I can directly perceive, as long as I study seriously, there will definitely be no problem with a third-level advanced mage. As for how strong I can be in the future, it depends on my talent and effort. Bai Long roughly estimated. It looks like you're lucky, little one. The coachman also smiled, slightly relieved. And then what? If you really learn magic and become a great wizard like me, what would you do? White Dragon also asked curiously. Of course, it is to immediately go to Kyrian and, like Kyrian, help liberate the oppressed and discriminated slaves in the world. Imiha exclaimed excitedly. He still believes that he is a member of the Kulyen people, not a lowly member of the empire. Then let's find a college to show you first, said Bai Long. Is it okay if it's not the enrollment period now? Imiha quickly thought to himself. The tested magic array and magic props are not disposable. Borrowing something, you can only pay at most, said Bai Long. Won't it be deducted from my salary, right? Although it seems to be no problem. Imiha was a bit worried at first, but after thinking about it, it didn't seem like anything. That's a test of one's magical talent, and it's also appropriate for oneself to spend money. Bai Long was slightly speechless, but it's not that he couldn't understand that children like Imiha, who grew up in difficult environments, naturally value money more. There's no great wizard who can't even afford the money for testing, don't worry, Bai Long smiled. Hee, then thank Lord White Dragon first, said Imiha. Chapter 8. A prosperous and powerful imperial capital. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Empire of Elsa. Emperor, Wochkam. As soon as they entered the outskirts of the city, Bai Long and Imiha were shocked by the scene before them. The faint magical barrier formed by the regional magic formation, like a canopy, protects this massive steel, alchemy, sand and stone city layer by layer. There are constantly airships or other flying machinery patrolling in the sky, constantly using various magic to monitor the city's condition. It is already autumn dusk at this moment. You can clearly see that every tall building is emitting a unified magical flash. The entire city flickered with its own magical radiance in the upcoming darkness, as if it were a beast awakened from the day. Only when darkness descended can it truly display its powerful and proud posture. Blood God Territory. The imperial capital of the Elsa Empire. Step by step. The sound of neat rows echoed along the noisy street. That was the patrol unit of the Elsa Empire, but not just soldiers, but a small team led by a 4-meter night mecha, equipped with external mechanical armor and external mechanical bones. Due to its movement in urban areas, the 4-meter level night mecha adopts a tracked bipedal structure to reduce wear and tear on the urban ground. But at the same time, it retains the ability to adapt to changes and can be replaced with a flexible conventional bipedal form during combat. The variable cost is insufficient persistence and intensity. But as a patrol model mecha, it is also sufficient for short-term combat. If someone causes trouble in this patrol team, they should be beaten to pieces in the first place, right? Imiha looked at the patrol team with some fear. A lightweight mechanical skeleton soldier with a rifle in hand. The heavily armored soldiers with external mechanical armor hold heavy machine guns and have a howitzer firing device on their left arm. The 4-meter level night mecha is equipped with a conventional melee weapon, a large sword, a machine gun on the right arm, and a miniature magic cannon on the left arm. The inscription structure of the alchemy metal on the chest is a magic shield. The mobility of the mecha feels very poor, said Bai Long in a different evaluation. Ah. Is it very bad? Imiha didn't understand these either. I haven't seen many of them either. But I think you've seen the strongest type before, right? Bai Long recalled the 20-meter mecha he had just seen when he woke up. He doesn't know the name. Kulyen Shinji. Firebird. As a divine machine capable of hunting and killing the old god of the earth dragon, 9th level, low-level god, its powerful combat posture is still lingering in my mind. That's the truly powerful mecha. The magic technology of the Elsa Empire is already very powerful. Compared to those areas in the Shushi region of the Western Sea Empire, the conventional city walls protected the low buildings made of stone and wood, and the patrolling soldiers were only equipped with some rifles at most. The number of mechs with magic core weapons was limited, and their magical technology capabilities were limited. On this side of the Elsa Empire, there has been a complete one-sided crushing. Although I haven't seen the magical technology of the West Sea Empire itself, I can feel it from the ships carrying the flag of the West Sea Empire. The magical technology of the Western Sea Empire is still considered a relatively backward stage. And the legendary Kulian, Lord Bai Long, have you ever seen Kulian's Mecha? Imiha asked with some excitement, but inexplicably a little incredulous. Because it was several years ago. Kulian is no longer exporting their night mecha weapons to the outside world, citing the high intensity of military secrets, and many of Kulian's magical core machinery has stopped being exported. According to rumors, Kulian has mastered a magical technology with extremely strong computing power. Computers. A truly top-notch magical technology created by combining unknown mechanical structures with specific alchemical materials and operating on the basis of light and dark elements. All of Kulian's new magical core weapons have been replaced with the latest computer systems. Thanks to this, Kulian's entire magical technology, military weapons, and so on have undergone a qualitative leap. Is it difficult to see the Kulian mecha? Bai Long wondered. Of course it's difficult. It's said that the strongest mech in the Kulian can already hunt down gods without pressure, and even the first generation of Kulian's new divine machine had the power of the legendary mid-level gods more than a decade ago, winning Imperial-level wars for them. Their basic models of various mechs, even industrial and commercial ones, are the top-tier existence. I always thought that was Kulian's most handsome magical technology weapon. Imiha Hatton exclaimed excitedly. Okay, I got it, don't get excited yet. Bai Long was also startled. I didn't expect Imiha to be so excited. Fortunately, he activated the soundproofing magic in a timely manner, otherwise people around him would hear him shout something, and there might be trouble. However, due to Imiha's excited expression, there was no sound and he still caught the attention of many people around him. What level of mech is that? 7th or 8th level? It wouldn't be a divine machine. Imiha also realized that it was not good and quickly asked in a low voice. However, he clearly did not realize that White Dragon had already activated the soundproofing magic, and his deliberate posture of lowering his voice looked even more suspicious. It should be a miracle, because it's very strong, said Bai Long. What does it look like? I have seen many secret machine manuals about Kulian, and as long as you mention the appearance, I should be able to name it. Imiha became even more excited. Bai Long looked at his excited expression. For the first time, I truly realized that Imiha, who had been exposed to the hardships of life, was still a 13-year-old child. He is a young man who loves mechs, the kind of powerful weapons made by ordinary people that can fight against gods. The main component is the red alchemy metal shell, and the magic reaction of the magic core is mainly based on fire properties. In melee weapons, there seems to be a magic sword that is about 7 or 8 meters long, not the large sword of the patrol mech just now, but a relatively narrow ordinary long sword. If anything else, in terms of remote attacks. Bai Longang is about to continue recalling some details. It must be the Firebird. Kulian has fire attributes, a red exterior, or is there only one model that uses a long sword? I only heard about his report a few days ago. I heard that Kulian dispatched the Firebird to hunt and kill a newly revived ice attribute Earth Dragon God in the territory of the Dragon God on the Asilio continent. It is said that the bodies were completely taken away, and there wasn't even much dragon blood left at the scene, it was clean and tidy. Imiha exclaimed excitedly. It's far more exciting than knowing that one has a talent for magic and has the opportunity to further learn magic. However, Bai Long also felt a little roast. As for the reason why there is not much dragon blood left, you need to ask about the Su Xia gold coins and the compensation I paid you. After calming down Imiha's excitement, he also casually found a hotel to prepare to stay. After they entered the city, it was already dark night. I found the hotel and asked the owner, who happened to speak the Aviso language, some questions. I found out that in the imperial capital of Wochkam, there are still ruins of war ruins preserved. Just north of the imperial palace, just find a taxi and pay some copper coins to get there. However, now in the imperial capital, the boss still shakes the silver coins given by the White Dragon and recommends them to use the Gi Yuan or the Ku Yuan that has not yet been completely eliminated. That is the main currency used in the prosperous areas of the empire, with the assistance of divine races to create high-security, paper currency. Paper money. The first time Bai Long came into contact with this currency, although he had heard of it on the merchant ship journey, he also heard that metal coins such as gold coins could still be used without paying attention. Mainly because in his common-sense memory, the paper currency was in the hands of a magician who mastered alchemy and was a very easy to imitate thing. Yuan was created with the assistance of our blood god clan, while Kuyuan was created with the assistance of the witch god clan behind Kulian. The paper and paint made by unique alchemy cannot be replicated at all, said the innkeeper with a smile. I understand, it seems that you have a high acceptance of the blood god, Bai Long asked in response. What's the solution to not having high energy? We've all taken root here. Even if the blood god wants to suck blood and eat meat, as we have a population of billions, offering a little is enough. The innkeeper didn't care about those things. It's not helplessness, it's true that How doesn't care. Because it's the capital or the owner of a hotel in the capital, they don't even worry about those things. After finding a resting place, Bai Long prepared to continue strolling. Upon hearing this, Imiha quickly got up from the bed and prepared to serve as a guide for Bai Long, even though he had already said no to use it. But Imiha still prepared to continue following, citing his proficiency in other common languages of the Esha Empire. Avisu is just one of them. And they. I also quickly took a taxi and arrived at a relatively famous place in the imperial capital. The Ruins of War. Ruins of War ruins. The former, Wochkam, was a border city between the kingdom of Lanwu and the kingdom of Sibai. In the past century of historical disputes, it has also been occupied and ruled by the kingdom of Vino, the Finkan military unified kingdom, and the Empire of Kenya. It is also a small city that has been severely ravaged by war. At the beginning of the establishment of the Duchy of Esha, this place was already a ruins of ruins. And it is precisely these war ruins that have become the current capital of Ashadi. At this time, this site, there are only some stones left, completely out of place with these tall buildings. The tallest small building has also collapsed, isn't it usually maintained by the people of the imperial capital? Wow! Is that the flag hanging on the small building, the empire flag? I thought it was a stick or something. Imiha looked at the ruins in the dim light and couldn't help but exclaim. Lord White Dragon, why do you think about coming to see this? Is there Lord White Dragon here? At this moment, Imiha realized that Bai Long was staring blankly, looking up at that dilapidated little building. The flag, which had not been replaced for too long, accumulated too much dust and turned black, and became heavy and hung on the flagpole. In the gentle breeze of the autumn night, it seems that I am still trying hard to dance and wave the flag as I used to. At this moment, when war breaks out again around you, unbearable and disheveled soldiers flee in front of the chariot, and the towering night Mecca is blasted into pieces. Take it and float it on the highest point. That non-existent country will personally come to welcome you. I must not disappoint any wise creature that flies this flag. This is whose memory? Chapter 9. Little Witch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We must not disappoint anyone who flies this flag. Any wise creature. White Dragon murmured softly, and suddenly the words from his memory appeared. In my memory, there should be a name, but I can't recall what it feels like. Lord White Dragon. Imiha shouted with some concern. Because Bai Long seems to be saying something strange, with a feeling of ambiguity. Oh. It's nothing, said Bai Long, coming to his senses. Is it really okay? Imiha was still a bit worried. Bai Long nodded lightly. But at this moment. Little one, what did you just say? A childish voice suddenly sounded, and even the great wizard Bai Long didn't notice the source of the sound. Ha! What a lovely little sister, but why are you calling us little ones instead? Imiha turned his head curiously and looked behind them, feeling nothing at all. On the contrary, at this moment, Bai Long's spirit is highly tense, and his hair is on end. His blood pressure is soaring. Because the visitor, Imiha, stepped back. White Dragon turned around and stopped him with one hand. What's wrong, Lord White Dragon? Although Imiha didn't know what was going on, he could hear White Dragon's solemn tone, and he could understand something even by looking at his face. She is the witch goddess, said White Dragon with a solemn expression. What? Imiha was shocked. This is the imperial capital of the Blood God territory. From the information I have gained during this period, the relationship between the Witch clan and the Blood clan is not bad, but it is definitely not good either. The sudden appearance of the witch gods here is not certain to be safe. It's really impolite, even if I'm at the divine level, to guard against such a young witch like me when I haven't shown any threat, said the little witch with a hint of dissatisfaction. Sorry, nobles cannot be viewed with conventional eyes. Appearance is not the way to judge your age and strength. Bai Long remained basic vigilant. At this moment, they also had the opportunity to briefly examine the little witch in front of them. He looks very young indeed, with an appearance of only 7 or 8 years old. Light blue straight hair, simply draped to the length of the calves, with strands of hair woven around the top of the head. On her fair and lovely face, her deep blue beautiful big eyes seem to emit a faint light in the darkness. I can feel the maturity and depth that clearly do not belong to children. The clothes she was wearing were ordinary cool-tone dresses, but she didn't float in the air like an ordinary witch. Instead, she stood honestly on the ground, which was also why Imiha didn't notice anything unusual at first and thought she was just an ordinary little girl. Okay, I admit my purpose here is not pure, but I wouldn't just shut up just because I was discovered, said the little witch. White Dragon's vigilance was slightly relaxed, but Imiha, facing the gods, for the first time, completely hid behind White Dragon and dared not show his head. Why did you suddenly say that sentence to the question just now? The little witch asked again. Just casually sighing, is there any problem? Or who said enough? Bai Long's expression moved slightly. In my memory, that sentence has a subject, and there should be a name after it. I don't know who has said it, but the way the words are expressed is a bit like a guy I know, said the little witch. Then she also scrutinized the White Dragon, her deep blue eyes emitting a slight magical halo, as if wanting to see through something. Bai Long was also somewhat cautious and let go of his mind. Because some witches can read their hearts, let alone the one in front of them who is still a witch deity. White hair, light golden pupils, a rare combination of human race, and completely unfamiliar facial features. Bloodline breath. It is indeed an ordinary human race, but it has the strength of a great wizard, which is quite good. The little witch completely saw through his disguise, and along with her blood and power, she completely understood that. Praise more. Bai Long was also an ordinary response. You shouldn't all be Imperial, right? Otherwise, there wouldn't be many who came here to see the ruins at this time. The little witch looked at the prominent small building in the ruins and said, as if she was also looking at which flag. Why do you say that? Bai Long was puzzled. The bustling imperial capital does not require a barren past. In fact, this place has not been completely flattened and rebuilt, but still preserved, which is already surprising enough, explained the little witch. Is that so? Bai Long. Through a simple understanding of the past and present of the Elsa Empire. It does represent the ruins of the past, which are not what the current Esha Empire needs, and the younger generation who grew up in the imperial capital is only curious to take a glance when passing by. I'm afraid this ruin still have some preserved significance, and only serve as a contrast to the prosperity of the imperial capital, demonstrating the strong development power from scratch. So what are you here to see? The little witch asked as she looked into Bai Long's eyes. Bai Long couldn't help but sigh in his heart that the thoughts of these witch gods were indeed sharp enough. It's just a simple trip, and besides, as a great wizard with a magical apprentice like me, what are my intentions? Asked Bai Long in response. If you don't want to say it, let it go. Since you're here, you should also take a good look at this. The little witch suddenly led the way. After a brief thought, Bai Long followed along with a somewhat scared Imiha. They entered the ruins and arrived at the foot of the dilapidated small building, where there was an inconspicuous stone tablet. It looks like a tombstone, but there is nothing buried, and there is only one type of written description on it. A Vaisu language. What is written on it? Imiha didn't recognize the words. The little witch casually gave a spell, and Imihajan couldn't avoid it when the meaning of the words suddenly came to mind. The meaning of these words is: born in the Empire of Kenya, attending school in the Kingdom of Vino, married in the military-controlled country of Fincan, struggling in the Kingdom of Sibai. In his later years, he lived in the Kingdom of Lanwu. From beginning to end, he never left his hometown of Wochkam, a small city ravaged by war. Now, I will be buried here. Wafer Friedman. What do these words mean? Imiha was surprised. This old man lived in this city all his life, but due to the war, he changed his identity from different countries. This is his ultimate destination, said the little witch. Life is all about war, only the last peaceful moments. Imiha felt incredulous. There's nothing strange about it. More than 400 years ago, the magic element power core was invented by the goblins, and they created a controllable magic puppet, which they called Dorita, and was commonly referred to as a night mech war weapon by the human race. Because this war weapon, which allows magicians to mass-produce using alchemy and mechanical techniques, has been ongoing in wars of all sizes in various parts of the world for over 400 years. I can only say that the old man's luck is slightly worse. The little witch explained, but explaining to Imiha or to White Dragon, only she knew. Okay. Imiha felt that he was completely a bystander and not very clear about the situation, making it difficult to evaluate anything. At this moment, Bai Long remained silent and seemed to be thinking something in a daze. In a while. Why didn't you leave the name of the country in the end? Asked Bai Long. What is left? Is it the Duchy of Elsa that brings him hope, or the future kingdom of Elsa, the Empire of Elsa? The little witch asked in response. It seems that his descendants don't really like the current country. Bai Long quickly understood. It's not appropriate to not like it too much. More than a decade ago, during the infamous Empire Purge of the Elsa Empire, the grandson of this old man was the core executor. On the eve of completing the final purge, he also went missing, and his whereabouts are unknown. The little witch continued. Imperial Purge. I think I've heard of it before. It's said that I don't even know how many honorable nobles, chambers of commerce, generals, and other high-ranking officials are being tried and executed, and there are also many other high-level officials involved, conservatively estimated to be in tens of thousands. Imiha also pays close attention to these things. Why are you telling us all this? Asked Bai Long. It's nothing, just to see you come here as the witch who collects and disseminates knowledge, just to let you understand briefly, the little witch replied casually. Thank you, said Bai Long. You're welcome, said the little witch. At this moment, the little witch took out a metal box, lit up the screen, and looked at the time. It's almost time, I have to go now. The little witch prepared to leave. May I ask your name, please? Asked Bai Long. Imiha next to her heart skipped a beat, wondering if even asking the gods like this didn't require any respectful words. Sylvia Hey Marita. The little witch casually spoke her name, and her figure slowly disappeared into the dim magical light, creating a terrifying spatial magic. Marita. White Dragon pondered repeatedly. In his common-sense memory, the maiden's surname originated from their related magical ancient tree, but he did not remember the magical ancient tree surname Marita. As for the C in the middle, it represents the attribute name of the witch tribe, not necessarily being good at a certain attribute, but rather a simple name identification or a way to avoid duplicate names. Has she left? Imiha asked with some fear. I'm not sure, her spatial magic is very strong. Only she perceives us through space, and no one can perceive her. Bai Long shook his head. Okay, as expected, these gods are all very powerful. Imiha. Gods. For ordinary people, it is an absolute and supreme existence. Even ordinary low-level gods, 9th level, are difficult to reach and can only look up. If it is mid-order, high-order, or even super-order. So ordinary people are really no different from ants. Let's go too, said Bai Long. Imiha. There was no reason to stay any longer, and they also quickly left here. Above 100-story tall building at this time. The little witch Sylvia silently gazed at the ruins and watched as the two of them left. Sure enough, it's a bit strange. I also know that when I read my mind, I'll clear my mind for the first time. It's better to secretly leave a marker magic for this guy. I hope the magic taught by my silly sister in law is useful. Out of vigilance, the little witch Sylvia secretly left a magical mark. Subsequently, it also disappeared above the tall building. P.S. The book should be signed tomorrow. By the way, the preface has been optimized. For previous readers who want to clock in again, they can choose to clock in paragraphs in the first chapter. Chapter 10. Encounter of Mountains. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Within the territory of the Elsa Empire. The largest mountain range, the Black Daryu Mountains. It is now the end of autumn, and the Elsa Empire, which was originally located in the northwest of the world, has completely covered its higher mountain ranges with ice and snow. White Dragon still chose to hike through the mountains as much as possible, following the path of traveling as much as possible. As for Imiha, he hired a red deer, a domesticated second-order fire attribute monster with a gentle personality. He can carry heavy loads in the snow while also emitting good fire attribute magic. I've heard about the Black Darius Mountains before. Now that I've come here myself, it's really cold, said Imiha with a trembling voice. Even with the presence of red deer, the clothes are unprecedentedly thick, but the temperature is really low. The heating spell I taught you, just recite it a few more times if you have nothing to do. You should have no problem with entry-level magic. Bai Long looked at him and didn't intend to help. But I don't have enough magic, said Imiha helplessly. He has just started learning and has not meditated a few times, with a pitifully low magical power reserve. Meditation, consumption, and striving to repeat this process can help you master magic as soon as possible, while also increasing the magic reserves in your body. Bai Long, who taught according to the local conditions, said. I tried my best, but it's so cold that it's difficult to enter a meditative state. It's still on the back of the red deer. Although Imiha complained a bit, he was still trying hard. Bai Long glanced at him and silently affirmed him. At least in terms of cultivation attitude, Imiha is very good, although he complains, his actions are not delayed. No matter what my arrangements are, you will definitely enter the school of witchcraft and wizardry. Even without me, with your talent, you should still have the opportunity to learn for free. At least the current education policy of the Empire will not allow the loss of magical talents. Bai Long said at this moment. Anyway, thank you very much, Lord White Dragon. If you need any help in the future, I will definitely do my best, said Imiha quickly. At most, it's just discovering talent and giving you a chance. Whether you think it's a great favor or not depends on your personality, and I don't have any expectations for it. But at the same time, I want to remind you that if you choose to help me or something like that in the future, you need to be mentally prepared. I may have some very troublesome and dangerous things in the future, and encountering that which deity without accidents should be much more terrifying. White Dragon can feel something inexplicably, especially after entering the Avaisu realm. What a big deal, if I feel powerless and scared, I'll just run and try not to hold you back, Lord White Dragon. If I have the ability, I won't help you beat up those bad guys. Imiha said sincerely. Just understand, Bai Long nodded. At this very moment. Bai Long was puzzled. What's wrong? Imiha asked. Strange, I seem to sense an attacked caravan. With the magic train connecting mountains and building railway transportation lines, there are probably few caravans that cross mountains, right? Bai Long is not very familiar with the situation in this country. Oh, I've heard that some caravans are unable to use regular magic car transportation channels, especially cross-regional transportation, said Imiha. Smuggling. That makes sense, said Bai Long. Is there any danger? Lord White Dragon is preparing to go and save him. Imiha. Bai Long thought for a while. I also made a decision quickly. At this moment, on the side of the attacked caravan. What bad luck. It's not yet time for these snow wolves to move around in this area. Pay attention to protecting the goods and do not force orders. Maintain a counterattack posture, as long as they don't show any flaws, these beasts dare not attack at the risk of injury. The defensive strength of the caravan is quite good, and it is not very dangerous now. However, as a group of warcraft, snow wolves with different levels of strength from first to third may also come from other snow wolves in the group as they drag on. The worst thing is that if the Wolf King arrives, at least it will be at the 4th level, or even at the 5th or 6th level, then we can only pray for how much we will escape. However, in this snowy mountain range, the possibility of avoiding the pursuit of wolves is extremely low. Boss, it seems that this time, we need to be prepared to discard the goods and escape. The hired adventurer captain is a 5th level warrior who makes a pessimistic judgment about the current situation. Are you joking? Without this batch of goods, I will go bankrupt when I go back. If I can't repay the loan from the private fund, what's the difference between being dead? The boss didn't want to give up. Being a scoundrel alive is at least better than dying. The captain's tense proposal didn't have time to care about the appropriateness of his words. Because from the current snow wolf pack, it is close to 20. None of them are just weaker first-order snow wolves, at least they are all second-order snow wolf packs. The most crucial thing is this scale. Their wolf kings have not yet appeared, and it can be estimated that they are a group of at least 50 level snow wolf packs. The wolf king must be at least 5th order, and the possibility of 6th order is not ruled out. The strongest member of their adventurer team is the captain, the 5th level moonlight warrior. The vice captain is a 4th level wizard, and the weakest is a newcomer with only 3rd level strength. Breaking through the encirclement of these 20 snow wolves is already enough. Oh, oh. A wolf howl came from afar, and the magical fluctuations it contained made the adventurer captain's face darken. The 5th level wolf king should approach the 6th level strength and must run now. The adventurer captain immediately judged. When the wolf king brings another pack of wolves over, they will all die. But at this moment, the surrounding wolf pack seemed to be inspired and commanded to launch exploratory attacks towards the caravan, and their overall posture was clearly not the kind that would allow them to leave easily. Coming over. Break through towards the foot of the mountain, it's best to find a place to hold on to, such as a cave, and be prepared to wait for rescue. Get out of here. Get out of here. The newcomers in the team, as well as ordinary transport workers, have already begun to fear. Boss, hurry up and come with us. The goods are definitely not safe, the captain also shouted. But the boss still hesitated. A wolf had already pounced on him. If it weren't for the captain's quick eye and quick hand, he might have died on the spot. Let's go. Let's go now. The boss was immediately frightened. Sure enough, life really matters. Abandon the goods, keep everyone on guard and retreat. The captain immediately ordered. I didn't panic and run away by any means, and it can be seen that I am also an experienced adventurer. However, oh. The voice of the Wolf King is getting closer and closer. Tisk. The captain was very clear in his heart at the moment. If no one stands behind, they will definitely be surrounded if they can't run far. Not to mention being an ordinary transport worker, it is absolutely impossible for newcomers in the team to run past a pack of wolves in the snow. Not to mention. Oops. 20 wolves were still dragging them around, making it impossible for them to escape with all their might. Boss, we should only be able to take you away. I hope your workers have bought enough insurance, the captain said in a low voice. Smuggling is killed by Warcraft, and the insurance company will compensate for it. The boss is well aware of these. Then there's nothing we can do. The captain was ready to burst into a fight and ran away with the boss. Just at this moment. 6th level, Fire Magic. Glass Fire Snake. 7 fierce fire snakes suddenly shot out and attacked the surrounding snow wolves. Except for a few clever ones who dodged in time, 5 snow wolves were directly devoured by the fire snakes, turning into a scorched black ball and falling into the snow. Next up. 6th level, Summon Magic. The Fierce Crystal Giant Bear. A giant bear standing 6 or 7 meters tall, bathed in flames and dazzling crystals, appeared and immediately roared fiercely towards the remaining wolf pack. That is a sonic magic with the magic of the element of fire, which not only carries spiritual bombardment and flame burning, but also has an extremely strong deterrent effect. For this pack of wolves with only 2 or 3 orders, it is a devastating attack. 6 weaker snow wolves were killed by direct roaring. The remaining few were even frightened and fled in a panic, running towards the direction of the Wolf King without daring to turn their heads back. Oh. The roar of the Wolf King came. Roar. The fierce response of Lijing Giant Bear directly suppressed its momentum. Subsequently, the voice of the Wolf King was never heard again, indicating that he had returned with the remaining wolf pack and had no intention of continuing to launch attacks towards this side. Did you leave? The boss hasn't regained his senses yet. Let's go. After the Warcraft group determines the danger, there won't be any sunk costs or impulsive options. The priority for them is to stop losses in a timely manner and preserve a greater chance of survival. The captain, who is also experienced, said. Great. The boss patted his chest with lingering fear. Several of the new members of the other transport workers and adventurers collapsed on the ground, clearly frightened. Thank you very much for the help of this great wizard friend. We are the Piaget adventure team in the Avisu region of the Empire. The captain bowed slightly towards the direction of the magic's launch to express his gratitude. As for the Piaki he refers to, it is the Avisu region, which is now the adventure level division used by the entire Esha Empire. Piaget is the 5th level, equivalent to the purple gold level on the Western Sea Empire side of the Ashelian continent. Great Wizard. The new adventurer was suddenly surprised. They were just too panicked and didn't pay much attention to the attack that just saved them. Stupid. Did you learn the basic knowledge in vain? Don't you know this natural monster, the Fierce Crystal Giant Bear? It's a big guy that can only be achieved through 6th level summoning magic, said the teammate angrily. Oh. The new adventurer scratched his head with embarrassment. Warcraft is divided into natural warcraft and breeding warcraft. Natural warcraft is mainly a type of warcraft that is born from the condensation of natural elements, and is often bred in magical disasters. It is usually the first choice for summoning magic for temporary summoning. Reproductive warcraft is a type of warcraft that grows through reproduction, just like regular beasts. To summon such warcraft, one needs to conquer them in advance and sign a contract. It's a piece of cake. Are you planning to go to the Avisu area? It's on your way, Bai Long said with a faint smile as he walked out of the trees that covered them. As a result, they saw a rather special team of 2 people. A mixed-race boy with only weak strength sat on a red deer, while White Dragon, a young and noble great wizard, was on foot.